For those who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Patrice Kennerson. I'm the Veteran Affairs Coordinator for Central Texas College. I work specifically for Veteran Services. And what I'm going to be presenting today is try to give you an understanding on how Veteran Affairs VA payments for blended online and developmental courses, remedial courses work in this instance. I'll be more than happy if you have any sudden questions that you have to ask along the way. I'll be happy to answer those for you. We'll go ahead and get started. Just a quick overview of the benefits that we do process here at Central Texas College. And I'm just going to run through these, not too quickly, but just give you an idea as to what we do. We offer the benefits that students can apply for such as post 9/11, which is Chapter 33. We also process Montgomery GI Bill for active duty, which is Chapter 30. We process the dependent educational assistance, which is Chapter 35. Those are dependents of veterans, a spouse of a veteran. We also process vocational rehabilitation, which is Chapter 31. And then we also process, and we rarely see these, which is why I listed these last. And we process Montgomery GI Bill, which is the Chapter 1606, and the Reserve Education Assistance Program, 1607. And we very rarely ever see, but I do put it up there since we do process it. It's Veterans Education Assistance Program, Chapter 32. And I think the reason why we don't really process that one too much, I think it has something to do with the enlistment date. Given the fact that veterans for this particular type of benefit have to have been enlisted January 1st, 1977, in between that day and to June 30 of 1985. So those are the benefits in general right there that we actually process. Now, basically, what classes does VA pay for students to complete a degree or certification? Now, what we process for students here at Central Texas College in the Veteran Services Department for VA, students can actually have VA pay for their classes in 3 formats, which is lecture, online, and blended. Blended, and I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with this, blended is pretty much a combination of lecture, face-to-face, and online classes. We also pay for pretty much developmental and remedial courses with some limitations. Now the question is, how does Veteran Affairs or Veteran Services determine status in order for a student to get paid their benefits to pay for their classes? Well, financial aid has basically paid on the basis of credit hours. If you're full-time, you'll get full credit hours. 3/4 time, you'll get 3/4 the payment. And 6 credit hours, which is basically half time, 6 to 8, somewhere in between there. For financial aid, is paid based on credit hours. Veteran Affairs is not specifically like that. Veteran Affairs is completely different. Veteran Affairs doesn't pay so much as based on credit hours as they pay based on the beginning and the end date of the classes in itself. So, for an example, a student can actually sign up for 4 classes equaling 12 credit hours or more, but for the purposes of getting paid full-time benefits, VA looks at the begin and the end date of those start classes. So, for example, you'll have a student who has to begin, let's just say they sign up for 2 classes. And one start date is on August 14, 2018. And then another class starts on, and let's just put it this way, they start on August 14, 2018, and that class ends on October 13, 2018. And then they sign up for another class that starts on October 14, and it doesn't end until December 15. So they sign up for 2 classes right there, and they're saying they're half-time. Or maybe they sign up for 4 classes with 2 start dates at August and end in October, and then they sign up for another 2 classes that start in October and end in December. One of the biggest complaints that we get is that students say, well, I signed up for 12 credit hours for 4 classes. How come I'm not getting paid the full amount of benefits? Well, the answer to that is that unfortunately, VA does not look at the amount of credit hours as they look at the beginning and end start dates of these classes. So they can sign up for 2 classes that start in August, but they don't get paid based on a half-time status at that point because they're looking at those 2 classes that start in August. And then when those classes are concluded and they sign up for 2 more classes that start in October, then they take a look at those other 2 classes and it will still be at halftime because of the start date. The only way a student will get full-time benefits paid for by the VA is if they all those classes have to begin, the same begin and the same end date. So all 4 of those classes would have to start in August, and all 4 of those classes would have to end in October. And this is where it gets really, really imperative to students to come and speak with us in regards to, okay, well, I have to take these classes, whether it's on their degree or certificate. It is imperative that a student, number one, they speak with an academic advisor, they know what classes they have to take, but yet at the same time, unfortunately, it is out of a student's control as to when and how these classes are offered. You know, not all these classes are going to be offered from from August to December, all at the same time. We got classes that only go for 4 weeks, classes that only go for 8 weeks, so on and so forth, and they all have begin in different start dates. So that's why it's imperative that students come and speak with us in regard to when they sign up for these classes. They need to get an understanding as how their payment basically works. Unfortunately, they don't understand it until afterwards, and then we have to explain to them that this is how Veteran Affairs actually pays students according to their statuses, the begin and the end date of these classes. So, now, to be certified is these classes are put into a few categories. For example, we have classes that are put on the categories of face-to-face, and online and blended are considered distance learning. And developmental will pay for developmental classes so long as they're face-to-face. Now, those, I'm pretty sure you know what blended is. Yeah. So the reason why blended is considered distance learning is because blended does not meet the requirements for the number of contact hours according to Veteran Services, because it's a combination of both online and face-to-face lecture classes. So the purposes of for verification and for certification, and to be in compliance with Veteran Affairs, we have to list any blended classes that a student takes as distance learning. So, and the question becomes, I know a lot of people ask, well, does that have an effect on how much that they get paid? Yes, it does. For example, for those who are on post 9/11, who are using Chapter 33, if a student were to go completely online, they do not get the same monthly housing allowance as other students would if they were taking classes face-to-face. And, of course, with developmental, if you're taking developmental online, VA will not pay for that at all. And the reason why Veteran Affairs will not pay for developmental classes online, basically, is because they feel that if a student's taking a developmental or remedial course at that point, they're having some difficulty in that subject area. And they need to have this course in order for them to be successful in an actual course, for example, college algebra or contemporary mathematics, or English, or history. So they want the student to get the benefit of that course. That means if they're having trouble with that subject area, they should be able to be face-to-face with the instructor and ask the instructor, okay, I didn't understand this, or can you repeat that, or can you explain this to me in a little bit of detail? So VA wants students to get the full benefit of the development and remedial courses. And like I said, they will pay for it, but it has to be face-to-face. It cannot be online. And of course, once all the paperwork is in, everything is processed, and then once we submit all the paperwork over to Veteran Affairs, then it's just a matter of, depending on what chapter the student is on, how basically they're going to get paid. Now, for those who are on post 9/11, Chapter 31 and Chapter 33, students do not have to make a payment to the school. The payment is going to be directly to the school in this case from Veteran Affairs. And of course, they'll receive their monthly stipend. And what we do is to keep them from being dropped in their classes, we issue them a business office voucher. And actually, we send the voucher directly to the business office and let them know that, hey, this student is using this particular type of benefit. Do not drop them from their classes. Those cover vocational rehab and, of course, post 9/11, Chapter 33. Now, for those who are using Chapters 30, 35, 1606, 1607, that's Montgomery GI Bill Active Duty, Montgomery GI Bill Selective Reserve, the dependents, the dependents benefit, and the REAP benefit, those students have to pay out of pocket first. There's no voucher for them, pretty much. I do have to back up. With voc rehab, they do get a book stipend. It's $500 per semester, so $1,000 per year. That's also like that with these chapters here as well. But with chapters 30, 35, 1606, and 1607, yes, students have to pay out of pocket first for those classes. And this is another reason why it's imperative that once we find out ourselves, and I've really encouraged this with our staff to make sure that we educate the students in that if they use these particular chapters, 30, 35, 1606, and 1607, that every student have to pay out of pocket first. And what happens is, once they pay out of pocket, they don't receive their monthly stipend as supposed to. Now, the question also becomes at this point, will VA actually pay for courses? VA will pay for courses, and of course, VA will not pay for courses, depending upon the circumstances. Of course, VA will always pay for a course that's needed to complete a program or study, no ifs, ands, or buts. If this is the course that's needed for them to complete the degree, the certification, yes, VA will pay for it. VA will also pay for a repeat if necessary. So if a student fails that class and does not get a grade that's acceptable, then VA will pay to repeat the course. Students will, and as stated before, students can also get their remedial developmental classes paid for if they needed to take a class that's in conjunction with what's on their degree or certificate plan. Now, there's also, and I added this in here because I've gotten questions in regards to students who've come in using their benefits for the first time, come to college for the first time, but they haven't really declared a major or some type of certification program, and they want to know if they can still use their VA benefits anyway. And the answer to that is yes, but with some restriction. And this is the restriction. The student can only attend 2 semesters, non-matriculated, meaning basically that they haven't declared a degree or certification, but they can only attend for 2 months taking courses using VA benefits. After that second semester, if they have not declared what type of degree they want to pursue or what type of certification they want to pursue, VA will stop paying for those courses until they determine what degree or certification the student wants to go for. Okay. Now, the question comes in, when will VA not pay? And there are a lot of incidences where VA will not pay for classes. First of all, if the class is not on the degree plan, VA will not pay for it. Now, in the instances where if we get students who are seeking a degree and they have electives that they have to take, and electives that are not really spelled out on the degree plan or certification plan, as long as they speak with an academic advisor and that academic advisor says, yes, they can take that elective and it will be used to go ahead and satisfactorily complete the requirements of the degree and certification, then yes, VA will pay for it. But if the class is not specified on the degree plan, or if an advisor says that, no, we cannot allow the student, or the student, can't take it, well, they can take the class, but the class will not meet the requirements needed in order for them to graduate, then no, VA will not pay for that. VA will also not pay, as stated before, and I stated this a couple of times, they won't pay for a developmental course that's online. VA will not pay for a 1-hour PE class. If the student, and this is a unique situation here because we've had a few calls on this, that we had to call in to my education liaison representative to try to straighten out. If a student has exceeded a certain amount of hours on their certification, and I'll just throw a certification, for example, out there. Let's just say there's one certification, and I think welding is one of them, that has a total amount of clock hours of 1,792 clock hours. So once they hit those amount of clock hours, VA will say, okay, that's the cutoff point. At this point, the student should have already have completed their certification, should have already graduated. We're not going to go ahead and overpay on the student on their clock hours if they exceed at that point. And we determined that there is an accounting department in Veteran Affairs that actually calculates the amount of clock hours that a student has actually accumulated based on the approval information that we set for that program in the first place. So, and one of the issues that we have right now is that one of our programs has actually has an amount that's stated with VA for 1,200 hours, which is in fact inaccurate. So now I'm working with the education liaison representative to try to get that fixed, because it has basically caused a problem with one of the students who's trying to get certified now for some of his classes and can't because he's being told that he's exceeded the amount of hours. So, and this can actually come from a lot of different ways. This could come from students having to repeat courses over and over again. And this is why, when it comes to certification, degree is kind of somewhat different than certification, but in the matter of certification, when we certify students, since we're counting up clock hours, we have to be very careful, at least in my department, we have to be very careful of reminding students and looking over to see if they have taken courses, if they have repeated courses, especially on the certification, because once they hit those certain amount of hours, that's it. VA will not pay for that. And then at that point, you know, we have to come up with other alternatives and try to figure out exactly why the student has hit that amount. And of course, another reason why VA won't pay is because of the low GPA average. We work specifically with Veteran Affairs, and we are required by Veteran Affairs that in order for students to receive VA benefits, they have to meet the minimum grade point average. It's just like financial aid in this instance. They have to meet academic good standing. 2.0 is the minimum GPA requirement accumulative. If they don't meet the minimum 2.0 overall accumulative GPA average, then they basically get put on notice, so to speak. In other words, they get notification from myself letting them know where their GPA is at that point standing coming into the next semester. And they're also advised on ways on how they can improve their GPA. They're also advised of the consequences of what could happen, basically, if they continue on this academic progress and not meeting the minimum GPA requirement. They're advised that, yes, they can possibly lose their benefits, and VA will not pay if they do not meet the minimum GPA requirement of 2.0. Also, other reasons why VA will not pay, and these are kind of like few and far between, but yet at the same time it's very effective. For students who are using chapters 30, which is Montgomery GI Bill, active duty, and 1606, which is Montgomery GI Bill, selective reserve, and 1607, which is the REAP program, these students are required on a monthly basis while they're attending school to verify their enrollment through a system what is called WAVE. It's abbreviated WAVE, but what it actually stands for is Web Automated Verification of Enrollment. They are required to call in and speak with someone, or required to call in and verify their enrollment on a monthly basis if they're using this particular benefit. If they do not call in the way they're supposed to and verify their enrollment, then yes, VA will stop payment. And then the question comes, okay, how come I've gotten paid? I'm making academic progress. And this is where my staff have to pay particular attention in that, making sure, depending on what benefit they're on, have they been calling in like they're supposed to through this automated system verifying their enrollment. So this is very, very imperative for a student. Some students tend to forget that they have to do this, so I always try to make it an effort. It's just like taking that extra step in customer service for me, reminding them that if they're going to use this particular benefit, that yes, you need to verify your enrollment on a monthly basis. And there's another reason why VA won't pay. Now, we did talk about repeat courses, in that if students receive a grade that's not satisfactory to meeting the requirements for the degree or certification, Another reason why VA won't pay on the mirror side of that, so to speak, is that if a student wants to repeat a course and they received a grade which is satisfactory and will meet the requirements of that degree or certification, say for example they get a C, and a C is acceptable, and say, yes, you can get a C, you'll be able to pass and graduate, get the degree and certification, but they don't want to leave it at a C. They don't like the way their GPA turns out, and they want to retake the course again simply because of the fact they want a higher GPA. Well, if that is the case, and we determine that, VA will not pay for that. Bottom line is, VA states, okay, you retook the course, congratulations, you got a passing grade. It wasn't the grade you want, unfortunately, but at the same time, if it is acceptable, VA will accept that, and no, they will not pay for a student to repeat the course based on that circumstance. Now, why do we have all these rules and regulations in place? Well, simply because we have to work directly with the Department of Veteran Affairs. This is no joke. They have very many rules and regulations and stipulations that we work closely with. We also have a state approval agency that completes what is called a compliance survey. In other words, yes, this is our way of getting audited, so to speak. And with this compliance survey, they come down, and I have to check to see when the next time they come down is that they come down, they take a look at all the students' files, and they make sure that we have all the right documents in there that's needed. For example, the degree plan, the responsibilities. We have a responsibility sheet that students sign, making them aware of what they basically have to do in case this situation occurs. Adding to that list is, and it's something I'm working on right now, is that we're working on a withdrawal form, a personal withdrawal form that a student fills out immediately when they withdraw from a course. So when they withdraw from a course, because if a student withdraws from a course and they're receiving VA benefits, we got to notify them as soon as possible. So that way, if a payment were to go out, they can actually stop it, or if a payment has gone out, then they may have to request that payment back. But this is something that we're going to construct the students to sign, whether it's one course or whether it's all their courses. It's a personal form that a student is going to fill out, and I like to have basically what is called a carbon copy of it, so that way the student fills it out, we have a copy in their file, and they keep a copy for their own records. So all that's going to be in part of that compliance survey. So, and what are the consequences of incorrect certification and we do the process wrong? Well, there's several things that can occur. Number one, student indebtedness. So if we certify a student incorrectly and we put down classes that are considered online for face-to-face, it makes a difference, especially with Chapter 33 on how a student gets paid. So, like I said before in the beginning, if a student is online and they're going straight online, nothing but online, it does make a difference for those from Chapter 33 on how much they're going to get paid. So it's very, very important to us on our verification forms, and there's a system called VA-1 that we certify these students through, and once we finish with the certification process, we submit it over to Veteran Affairs. So they have to look at all this. So the consequences in this case is that if we certify a student incorrectly, bottom line is they can send out more money than they're entitled to have. I mean, the student, now we've had some students that were honest to tell us, okay, we've gotten paid more than what we were supposed to. We shouldn't have gotten to pay all that money, and then there's some students, of course, that won't say that. But the fact of the matter is that they'll get sent that money, and they were supposed to get sent that money, and then at the same time, if they spend that money, the student's going to be responsible. So VA is going to send out a lovely letter to them saying that, hey, we've overpaid you by X amount of dollars, and you have to pay that money back within a certain amount of days. And they give them information on who to contact, where to contact, and so on and so forth. A school indebtedness can incur in effect if, definitely if we, incorrect certify these students incorrectly. And yet at the same time, for situations like if the money's gone directly to the school, in this instance, and we certify them wrong, then the student is given the money back, but at the same time, that money has to be returned back to VA. So since the student in this case wouldn't be responsible, it would cause a school indebtedness. And that is never good. especially on a compliance survey. That's never good. In some instances, say, for example, if the student, and this is why we're coming up with the withdrawal form now that I bring this up, to avoid school indebtedness. So that way, when a student comes by and they say, hey, I'm withdrawing from this course, okay, you fill this out, we go ahead and process this as soon as possible, and we get it to VA as quickly as we can. So that way, we can avoid this kind of catastrophe, so to speak. So that way, we don't have to pay back VA money that we shouldn't have gotten in the first place. And then what could all this result into? This could all result into loss of approval. And to me, that is detrimental because given the amount of students that attend here at this particular institution, which is anywhere from 40 to 45,000, if not more, 1/8 of those, 5,000 to 6,000 students use VA benefits to pay for their education. So that's why it's imperative that we are in direct compliance with the Department of Veteran Affairs, that we not only double check and triple check and everything check over and over again to make sure that we have it right, that we have all the documents the first time around, that we process it the first time around so we can avoid these kinds of mistakes. And if we lose approval to process VA students, then that's 1/8 of our population right there if they don't have another source that we're going to lose off the bat. So that's why this, to me, is very detrimental. So, and of course, this is our point of contact. Annabelle Smith, who's the Associate Dean of both Financial Aid and Veteran Affairs. Then, of course, there's myself as the VA Coordinator. And then there's my staff. Those are my technicians. And they go in alphabetical groups. Simply because of the large volume of students that we deal with. And, of course, we have our Vet Success Counselors, James Morgan and Cindy Oswald, and, of course, our Wounded Warrior representative. So, and that, in a nutshell, is the understanding of VA payments. At this time, I will definitely open the floor for questions if anybody has any.
Les Ledger, do VA students have to attend class?
Give that to us one more time.
Actually concludes the presentation for VA payments, and at this point, I am opening up the floor for questions. If anybody has any questions.
California, you got a couple students, they go to classes, they just show up for the class.
Was there a question about California?
Our computer too, that, you decided to keep it on our computer.
Can you review the 8-week courses and full-time status information again?
Okay. Basically, as far as the 8-week courses go, for the most part, as far as full-time statuses, for the way we process, it's based on the begin and the end date. So for like 8-week courses, it's not so much as the 8 weeks is the issue, it's actually the begin and end date of the classes. So say, for instance, if a student is taking, let's just say, 2 8-week courses, or maybe even 3 or 4, in order for them to be considered full-time status, those 8-week courses have to have the same begin and end date in order for them to get their full-time status. So say, for instance, if they're taking 4 8-week courses, but 2 of them start in August, and end in October, and then they sign up for another 2 more 8-week classes that start in October, but then end in December. As far as credit hours go, they would be considered, full-time. But unfortunately, VA doesn't process based on credit hours. They process based on the beginning and date. So it's a matter of when they start and when they end the classes. So in this example, student would be considered half-time for the most part because they're taking 2 courses, 2 courses that are 3 credit hours with a certain beginning and end date, and then they're taking 2 more courses afterwards with a certain beginning and end date.
Okay, so what you're saying is if a student takes 6 semester hours with the same start and end date in an 8-week term, they're only half-time, they're not full-time?
Right, exactly, according to me.
Okay, I think that's a big misunderstanding. You've always got 6 hours for VA to 8 weeks.
Okay, let me go back and check that just to be absolutely sure, but for the most part, yeah.
So can I ask you one question? For the VA programs that the student has to pay up front, is a monthly stipend, does that include reimbursement for their tuition plus a VHH?
My understanding is it's not so much as the reimbursement for tuition, because they got to pay out of pocket for tuition. So, but the monthly stipend is based on their enlistment service, so to speak. So it's not really a reimbursement for tuition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lucretia would like to know if the VA will pay for a repeat course. Does this include third attempt when the student is required to pay non-resident fees?
Because he failed it 2 times.
Yes.
Yeah. So in this case, yeah, VA will still pay for the repeat course. VA will pay for the repeat course as long as the course is required to graduate.
Well, I can raise hand then.
Can you go over, if the student really wants to take all online courses, but in order to get full VHA, he has to be enrolled in at least one classroom course?
My understanding is yes, because it will have an effect on their payment. So yeah, if they want to go full online, and it's usually, the only one that really affects this SSC is those who are under Chapter 33 post 9/11. So yeah, if they want to get the full VAH, they got to be enrolled in at least one face-to-face course. So it can't be 100% online if they want to get full VAH.
And it can't be 100% blended.
Exactly.
And I wanted to clarify, I want to clarify about the blended classes and the contact hours. What the VA is looking for is that, if it's a 3-semester-hour course that requires 48 contact hours, the VA wants that student in the classroom face-to-face for 48 contact hours. And that's why the blended are not considered classroom, because they're not physically in the classroom for 48 contact hours.
Exactly.
So do you want to sign us off?
Okay. What exactly does the sheet say?
And so you can,
8 weeks versus the 15. So it is. Okay.
So, are you saying that your sheet that you have indicates if they're taking six semester hours and the same start and end at 8 weeks, the sheet you have indicates they're full-time?
Can you hear me?
For 8 weeks.
It's full-time, okay.
That's what Daniel is saying.
That's what Dan said, okay.
Daniel,
Okay, so yeah, that's the correction. So in this case, yeah, 2 classes for 8 weeks is full-time.
6 semester hours.
6 semester months, yes.
Thank you, Daniel. I want to mention that Patrice she started in August. Okay, so she's very new at this job also, okay? She has a wealth of information coming in from TAMU in other areas, and she knows a lot more about the Veterans Affairs than than what I had expected for somebody coming new into the position.
We have another question. It says, so will the VA pay for classes on an undeclared degree plan?
Okay. They can, but be very careful what it is. Take into consideration what I say. If they're first starting out and they have not declared a degree or a certification, this can only be for 2 months. coming in. After after 2 semesters or 2 terms coming in. After the second term, they have got to declare a degree or a certification. If they do not, then VA will not pay. All right. Does anybody have any more questions?
Okay, so Daniel is saying, Daniel, why don't you repeat that so it's recorded and everybody hears it?
Okay, Daniel is saying that as far as the third attempt course, VA will only pay in-state tuition rate. The student is responsible for the difference in tuition costs. So if the student is non-resident, they will be responsible for the difference of the tuition cost. That's interesting. Thank you, Daniel. And this is mostly for online classes. Alrighty, thank you so much.
Thank y'all, everyone. I really appreciate it. I've had the pleasure of doing this. And if you run across any more questions in the future, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Recorded on the website.
This presentation will also be recorded under the Student Services Tools website on the fact staff side of ctcd.edu. It'll be listed under Student Services WebEx series, and the PowerPoint will also be available to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.